you for tuning in to the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We will be covering Thomas Tuchel being set to be named as England manager. We'll discuss Spain dismantling Serbia today and the rest of today's Nations League fixtures. We'll react to the USMNT's lackluster display as they got thoroughly dominated by Mexico. We'll discuss today's CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers. And make sure you stick around for the end of the show, where I'll be giving you my reactions to some of the top headlines in the soccer world. If you have a question during the show, we want to hear it. Your input is a big part of what makes this show successful, and we thrive on your energies and insights, whether it's a quick comment, a thoughtful question, or an opinion you just have to share. Please don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. And if you want to make absolutely sure that your message stands out and gets featured on the show, there's an easy way to do that. Use the super chat button. This guarantees that your message gets on the air, and it's also a fantastic way to support our channel. We rely on your support to keep bringing you the sports content you love, and we appreciate every bit of it. So go ahead, let us know what you're thinking. Hit that super chat button, and let's keep the show as interactive and exciting as possible. And if you prefer, you can also go to the gsmcpodcast.net to tip, donate, and leave a comment or question there. We couldn't do what we do without your amazing support, and we're really thankful to have you as part of our community. We have to start off with Thomas Tuchel being set to be named as England manager. The bomb dropped a little bit pretty early this morning. My time early this morning. It was around what? Noon in the afternoon, my time. The bomb dropped. Thomas Tuchel agrees to becoming England manager. All the major sport outlets discussed it and confirmed that this was going on. It was unbelievable reaction for me. It was in the middle of work. I couldn't believe the headline I was reading. I didn't think this was gonna happen as fast as what's been going on recently with England, with that disappointing loss to Greece and then an okay win against Finland. Now he's Thomas Tuchel is set to be the England manager. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. Let's go strictly big picture for England. If you're an England national team supporter, you should be thrilled at this decision. This is a brilliant manager. This is probably technically the most best manager you've had since Fabio Capello. The rest of the managers really have gotten an opportunity because of the relationship they've had with the English FA. You look at the likes of Roy Hodgson, Sam Allardyce, Gareth Southgate, even Lee Carsley, who got a little bit of a run as interim manager. It's all basis on the relationship with the English FA. This is not the case. This is a Thomas Tuchel that has no links with the English FA. Yes, he's been a manager in the Premier League, but other than that, has no links, didn't come up the ranks, is a foreign manager. By the way, this is their first foreign manager since Fabio Capello, which is something that we'll get into later. But yes, he's agreed, Thomas Tuchel, you're looking at it from his perspective. You get this world-class national team filled with talent all over the pitch. You have the pick of the crop at every position. You have players that you're comfortable with, that you've managed, like Harry Kane, Reece James, if he can get back and his fitness levels can get back to that level. And then you have players that you've went up against on a day-to-day basis in the Premier League. It's a team, it's a squad of players that he's going to be fully aware of. He's going to understand their weaknesses, their strengths. He has a good idea of the players there are, and this is a team with huge talent and quality that should be battling for trophies on the international level. So there's that aspect of it, of your Thomas Tuchel. And yes, he's had a lot of issues with things that he's wanted, but really when you look at this England squad, he can't want anymore. He has really good talented players at every level, and a crop to pick off, a wide crop to pick off. So that's there. If you're looking at England, from England perspective, you're getting a manager that, number one, has a great resume, has a great CV, and will get the respect of the players right away because of what he has accomplished at the highest of levels. Especially just talking about him winning that Champions League in Chelsea, which is really the holy grail of his, management. But overall, he has a great resume, winning league titles in different countries, winning league titles in France, in Germany, in England, winning the Champions League in England, reaching another Champions League final with with Chelsea, reaching another Champions League final with PSG. His resume, his CV will earn him the respect, and he's also a manager. He's not going to deal with the nonsense, he's a no-nonsense type of manager, and he's, and the discipline and focus will be there from the team, or else he will be the first one to address it, and he won't deal with all the nonsense there is. So that aspect of it, and also international competitions, mostly, international competitions are mostly, besides the qualifiers, the big things in international trophy are all cup competitions. It's the World Cups, it's the European Championship. Thomas Tuchel, in my opinion, he's a brilliant cup manager. He took PSG to a Champions League final, a final that they have not been able to sniff, without him. They've never been able to, they've reached semi-final, but other than that, no success in the semi-final here and there. But other than that, not much success. Thomas Tuchel did take PSG to semi-final. He took a Chelsea team to a final. A Chelsea team, when he originally was brought in the middle of that season, were in very bad turmoil. They found themselves sitting, I believe, 8th or 9th in the Premier League, in a low position. He got that team, number one, back into the top 4, and he, took that team within a span of a few months, and they went on to lift the freaking Champions League. So this is a brilliant cup manager. Even with Bayern this season, this was a Bayern team that is one of the worst, last season, that was one of the worst Bayern teams over the past decade when you saw what they did in the league. But that team were still able to reach the semi-final. I think Thomas Tuchel in cup competitions is a brilliant manager. He's able to adjust on the fly, to make in-game adjustments, to get the players and to get the team playing in the best position to get the result that's needed. I think Tuchel does a very good job of that, and I think managing these competitions is something that he's really good at, and it's something that England, the English FA is obviously valuing. And also just the fact that he's tactically a really good decision maker. He's, he can make in-game adjustments, that aspect of it. Now, the one thing that he does not have that Gareth Southgate has, the only thing that he does not have that Gareth Southgate has, is Gareth Southgate's ability to do all the extra stuff in terms of managing outside the pitch. I'm talking dealing with the press. I'm talking maintain a great relationship with the higher ups. Thomas Tuchel, generally he's been decent with the press. Even, going back to his Chelsea days, the press relationship has been solid. But it's a different level now with the England national team. Dealing with the English press as the English manager. That comes with a different pressure and a different wave of criticism that he's going to be under. And also, he's had issues over the past few jobs that he's had in terms of, issues with the hierarchy. Now, obviously, some of those issues that he had with the hierarchy is not really going to be present when it comes to international teams, because it's a little bit of a different dynamic there. But still, the communication aspect of it, he needs to make sure that he can deal with the outside of the pitch as well as Gareth Southgate, because that was really what Gareth Southgate's strength was as the English manager, was managing everything other than the footballing. Now, the footballing side of Gareth Southgate, he wasn't good enough technically, technically, obviously, as a manager. He wasn't good enough tactically, his flexibility, his formation, none of that was good enough. His decision-making, his squad choice, his starting 11 choice, none of it was good enough. And Thomas Tuchel, in all those aspects, trumps his ability to, Gareth Southgate to do all of that. He's just a way better manager, tactically, adjustments, squad choice, player development, all of that. He's just a way better manager. But outside of the pitch, I think Gareth Southgate did a little bit of a better job than Thomas Tuchel. Or Gareth Southgate did a really good job, and I think has that advantage over Thomas Tuchel, that Thomas Tuchel will need to manage, being the manager of England. There's also talks about him being a foreign manager. This is the first time he's the foreign manager since, I think going back to 2012 with Fabio Capello. Look, it's 2024. In my opinion, you should get the best manager in class. If the best manager is not English, of the manager that can get England, the manager that gives England the best chance to win the World Cup should be the manager. Whether he is English, German, Spanish, it does not matter. All this English manager needs to be, well, what is the point? If the best in class is not an English manager, then that is the deal. That's what it is. When you end up lifting the trophy, when the England national team lift up this trophy 30 years from now, when they're telling the story, are they going to say, oh, the manager was German? No, they're not going to say the manager was German. They're going to say Harry Kane lifted the World Cup, or whoever is the captain at that point lifted the World Cup. They're not going to talk about this or this or that or this or that. No. So for me, this whole thing, come on, just get the best manager in there that can give you the best opportunity. Don't self-sabotage because of self-pride that you have. No, this has to be an English manager with the English national team. No. If the English managers that you have are not up to the level to lead this England team as far as possible, in the World Cup, then of a foreign manager is necessary, then a foreign manager, even the Brazil national team, they looked at Carlo Ancelotti. They tried really hard because they understood there's a lack of real talent in the coaching pool amongst Brazilians. And I think that's a decision that the English have to make, especially when maybe they wanted to give Lee Carsley a little bit of opportunity to see if he could replicate some of the success that Gareth Southgate had. But after that underwhelming result against Greece, obviously, they ended up, going with this. And yeah, I think there's some good with it. There's some bad with it. But overall, this is a massive signing for England. I think this is a sort of managerial signing that could potentially lead England to, finally winning a trophy for the first time in a very long time. Now, look, I still think there's a mentality problem with the English setup, with the English national team. I think the players play ridiculously different than what they do with their clubs, and I think their performance and the pressure sometimes gets too much to them, and the performance drop, and they naturally become more pragmatic players when they put on the England kit. But at the same time, Thomas Tuchel, now England are not going to go in games thinking, oh, we're going to have to win in despite of Gareth Southgate. They don't have to go in games with that sort of mentality. Fans will not go into games thinking the manager is holding us back now. Now fans actually have a belief saying, wow, we have a brilliant manager that will be, that 99.9% of the time we will have the better manager in international football. That's a massive incentive. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will do a full reaction to Spain dismantling Serbia and the rest of the Nations League fixtures.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm
wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit, I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant, I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, I'm losing shit. A stupid myth, you choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Before the break, we discussed Thomas Tuchel being being set to be named as the manager of the England national team. We do a reaction to some of the Nations League fixtures from today. We start off with Spain dismantling Serbia 3-0. The European Championships and the European champions Spain, they are officially clinched their spots. Now with 10 points through 4 games, clinched their spots into the Nations League quarterfinals, which yes is now it's now quarterfinal the Nations League. They've enhanced the Nations League with now 2 teams getting out of each group, and it's turned into quarterfinals. But yes, Spain, they have claimed the place in the Nations League quarterfinal with that 3-0 win over Serbia, thanks to goals from Laporte, who opened up the scoring in the 5th minute, Morata with the second goal, and then Alex Banya finished it off in the 77th minute. Pavlovic got sent off in the 76th minute, immediately after Alex Banya got the third. And yeah, dominating win for the Spanish national team, which no real surprises in my opinion. We knew the quality that Spain have. We know the ability individually that they have of their some talented players, and we know how they play as a unit. As well, now under Luis de la Fuente, they play some really good football. For every 10 shots, Serbia had won. They outshot Serbia on a ratio of 10-1. 30 shots for Spain to 3 for Serbia. 10 shots on target for Serbia's 1. So that ratio also showed in the shots on target, with 10 shots for Spain and 1 shot for Serbia. 67% of the possession. It was completely one-sided. This is a Serbian team that, in my opinion, had a decent opening game in the European Championships against England, but had a pretty poor showing at the European Championship. I thought they were going to be much better, because on paper they have some quality. Serbia does, and they have players that can play some freaking football. That can pop the ball around, have a little bit of quality here and there. They can defend decently well, but just in the major international tournaments, they just don't show up. They don't show the quality that I expect from them. I don't see, the players stands out like the Vlahoviches, the Mitroviches, who are, again, nowhere to be seen in this game. They were just completely dominated. If you're, obviously it's a poor showing if you're a Serbian fan. As far as Spain goes, no real surprises here. This Spanish national team that arguably looked like the best national team in the world right now, just based on the sheer performances. We'll discuss a little bit later Argentina and their 6-0 win over Bolivia. I just think the difference between Spain and Argentina is, Spain are completely dominating and outclassing teams. Argentina, they're a team that tends to rely on certain individual moments and overall a gritty, display and being able to win ugly. And that's naturally been their calling card under Lionel Scaloni. With Spain, they're able to completely dominate and outclass teams and create a lot of opportunities and play, more appealing football, more higher up the opponent's pitch football. And so, when I think of who's the best national team right now, I do have to give them, I wouldn't favorite them over Argentina, but I really put them neck to neck because, Argentina is a team that that does deserve respect in the fact that they are defending World Cup champions. They've won the last 2 Copa Americas. And until someone shows that they can, topple Argentina by defeating Argentina, I'm not going to put a team ahead of them. But I think Spain is just right there. And also, the great part about it is we get to see this game, Spain versus Argentina. We'll get that finalissima. It's set to take place potentially in 2025. Maybe there's a chance it happens, maybe 2025, maybe early 2026, which is another report I saw. But it remains to be seen. I know it's a little bit difficult with the Nations League now coming up, and that's being expanded to adding quarterfinals, which will take a little bit more time now. So we'll see. But hopefully that is a game that we get, because it is a game that we'll get. But hopefully it's a game we get soon, because that's really going to show us a lot entering this World Cup on the 2026 World Cup. Going back though to this Nations League fixtures today, the other big game that I had my eyes on was Portugal-Scotland, which also took place today. Scotland, they're obviously coming off that disappointing late loss that they suffered with the winning goal from Kramaric against Croatia. Portugal, on the other hand, they had the victory over Poland, nice, comfortable victory over Poland, and they entered with a perfect record, 3 of 3. They dropped their first points. They did it against Scotland team that is more likely than not looking like the team that will get relegated in this group. And Scotland, they had a pop around. They defended pretty well, tried to make it as tight as possible, tried to make it difficult for Portugal. But you see the play, I don't want to keep talking about Ronaldo this, Ronaldo that. Obviously, I've made it clear on what I think of Ronaldo. But again, today just didn't get really involved enough. You look at the players of this team: Jota, Conceição, Bruno Fernandes, Palhinha, Vitinha, Nuno Mendes, Ruben Dias, Cancelo, Diego Costa, and then you see the quality that they're able to bring in off the bench. You're talking players like João Felix, Rafael Leao, Bernardo Silva, Ruben Neves, players like Diego Dalot, Francisco Trincao, who hasn't even really been that much involved with Portugal lately. Players like him on the bench just shows the quality that this Portuguese team have. And if Roberto Martinez was able to get it together, they would be a dangerous outfit, but they really can't get out of their own way. They had not a shocking Euros, but a very expected Euros, but a extremely underwhelming European Championship. And now the draw today, it really tells the story for me in Portugal and how, the story of them. Northern Ireland got a 5-0 win over Bulgaria. Romania 2-1 win over Lithuania. Luxembourg, Belarus finished 1-1. Switzerland and Denmark played out an entertaining 2-2 draw. Kosovo got a 3-0 win over Cyprus. Poland and Croatia stalemate 3-3. That's the other two teams in the group with Scotland and Portugal. And to read off the standings, we'll just read League A. League A standings. The top two teams, keep in mind, the top two teams move on. Right now, after 4 of the 6 games, Portugal sit first with 10 points in Group 1. Croatia sits second with 7. Poland find themselves third with 4. And Scotland is last with 1 point. Keep in mind that the last place teams get relegated. So Scotland really have to do some work in their final 2 games to save themselves. Italy find themselves first place, already clinched. I don't know if they mathematically clinched. They're on the verge of clinching qualification with 10 points, sitting on pretty at the top. France also looking comfortable with 9 points, 5 points ahead of Belgium, who have 4 points, and then Israel sitting in 4th. They're kind of get relegated. Germany in League A Group 3. Germany find themselves top of that group right now, looking very, very comfortable. Gonna be in the quarterfinals. 10 points from the first 4 games. Netherlands sitting second with 5 points. Tied with Hungary sitting third with 5 points. The difference between them two is a goal differential. Netherlands having +2, Hungary having a -3, which is a 5-goal differential. But the big thing about it is we will get Netherlands and Hungary match day 5, played at the Johan Cruyff Arena. Hungary will be a little bit more desperate in that game, needing that result because of the massive superior goal differential Netherlands have. And then Bosnia sitting bottom of that group with 1 point. Bosnia, they're gonna get relegated from there. Spain, dominant so far in this group. 3 wins, a draw, 10 points from the first four games. Denmark sitting second with 7 points from 4 games. Serbia finishing so far third with 4 points from the first 4 games. And then Switzerland, in my opinion, a real shock when based on what we've seen from them at this European Championship, seeing themselves only with 1 point, from these games, suffering, losses to Serbia, Spain, Denmark, some of the, and then now having the draw, their first point with that draw against Denmark. Honestly, it's been really disappointing for a Switzerland team that I think would build on the momentum that they had at this European Championship, because not only did they get some really, really good results, but they played some fantastic football and they were amazing to watch. And to sit there only with 1 point afterwards, I was really surprised when I saw that. And now they take on a Serbian team in which they're a direct battle win to fight for, potential relegation. Then they take on Spain at the end, which maybe Spain could go in there, maybe, resting a few guys here and there because they've probably wrapped up qualification by then. Maybe that gives Switzerland a way to save themselves. But yeah, I'm really surprised that Switzerland is sitting bottom. And, as we speak right now, they're looking like the team that might will get relegated in that group. But I still think they have it in them to battle out of there. I believe in the quality of this team, and I believe in what I saw at the summer's European Championship. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll do a full reaction to USMNT's lackluster display as they got dominated by Mexico.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Before the break, we did a full reaction to Spain dismantling Serbia and the rest of today's Nations League fixtures. We move on to do a full reaction to USMNT's lackluster display as they got absolutely positively dominated by the Mexican national team as they lost 2-0 with goals coming from Raul Jimenez in the 22nd minute. Brilliant goal from him on a set piece, a free kick, a really good free kick goal. It's a little bit rare to see number 9s take free kicks. It's not the most common things. Free kicks are usually for there's no really primarily position, but you don't really see number 9s take free kicks. But he was able to get it to go. And then Cesar Huerta in the 49th minute, a player that Mexico fans talk a lot about in recent times, talking about that potential next player for them. He got the second goal, came with slap me if I've said this before, another mistake of the U.S. trying to play out at the back. This time is Tim Ream, who's probably the only player that has any resemblance of quality to play out of the back. He gets caught on the ball, sliding tackle coming in from Raul Jimenez, who, by the way, we know that he was not involved in this summer's Copa America because of Mexico trying to clean house or whatever. He was able to, slide tackle the ball away into Carlos Huerta's pass. Good tight ability and tight space from Huerta to create space in a quick dynamic way. Tucks in the shot, gets it past Turner, 2-0 Mexico. And once that goal came, I thought maybe the route was on because, look, the U.S. was thoroughly out-dominated. I believe the U.S. got their first shots probably in the 68th minute or so, something like that. Mexico, if you look at the statistics, 17 shots for Mexico, 5 for the U.S., 5 shots on target for Mexico, 1 for the U.S., 47% possession for Mexico, 53% for the U.S. The U.S. had possession here and there, but it was possession in nowhere near areas to be threatening. And every time Mexico got on the ball, you were thinking, they could do something with it. Mexico played with a real intent. They looked more technically gifted. They played with more energy. They played with more of a desire. They suffocated the U.S. They made it difficult. The U.S. players, they couldn't handle, the pressure. Maybe it came from the crowd. Also, the Mexican pressure itself, the relentless nature to their press. The U.S. made so many mistakes trying to play out. And once that opening goal came from Mexico, the U.S. players looked shot. They looked like a shell of themselves. And some players really put themselves in a really bad according in this performance. And I do have to say the big one was Brenden Aaronson, who... Look, Brenden Aaronson, I think he has some ability here and there. I think he has a role that he can play, especially off the bench. Someone to come in, take advantage of the energy that Brenden Aaronson can provide and the work rate, especially if you're trying to defend the lead and all that. You need him to defend from the front. He has positives. But something he's not is not a number 10. He does not have the ability to make those line-breaking balls. He's not the most technically gifted in tight spaces, he's not the most cute and clever sort of player. And yeah, and especially in that first half, Aaronson was horrible. There was this one ball that he played, oh my goodness. It had to be one of the worst balls that a player, I believe he was trying to play it into the path, whether it was Sargent or Tillman, but it was just a horrible ball. And it was a ball that was on, and it was pretty simple for a player playing in a central position, really a simple pass to make. And it wasn't even close. I mean, ball was hit not with the right touch, way too much pace on it, the accuracy of the ball. It just didn't look like a number 10 delivering the ball, and he was pretty awful. I thought Josh Sargent couldn't get involved with him in much, didn't really get involved in play, didn't even really have service as well. Malik Tillman, didn't really get involved much. I thought midfield wide, Busio, Aiden Morris, and Musa didn't really get a control of the midfield as I expected to. I think defensively, I thought Anthony Robinson played a decent game. Matt Turner didn't really have much to do. Couldn't do really anything on the 2 goals. Tim Ream made that big mistake, which you can't make at this level, especially if he's gonna be the experienced guy. Robinson just not good enough. I don't know why he's involved with the U.S. men's national team. I guess with this, the issues with Richards and Cameron Carter-Vickers and all that, but he's just not good enough. And I thought Joe Scally wasn't horrible, but overall as a whole, the USMNT was not good enough. The performance was not good enough. I don't want to hear anything about the players that was not available, this, that. No, at the end of the day, the players that were on the pitch, they should be able to get the job done, and they were thoroughly outclassed and thoroughly outplayed. And the expectation needs to be there now with Mauricio Pochettino come in. And I'm not here to blame Mauricio Pochettino. He's had 5 to 6 days. This is something that takes time. Javier Aguirre, yes, he's been initially brought in, but Javier Aguirre is someone that's been around the Mexican setup and is a manager that knows how international football works. So to compare the success that he had in this game and try to compare it to Mauricio Pochettino and how they've had similar... No, that's not the case. Number one, Javier Aguirre, he's been around the Mexico team. I believe during the Gold Cup, he had some sort of advisory role above Lozano and all that. And this is a Javier Aguirre that's had multiple stints with the Mexican national team and many stints in international football. Pochettino's not experienced in international football. This is his first real chance to get to be involved with this U.S. team, U.S. setup. Give it some time. Obviously, there's a way that he wants to go about it. Trying to play out of the back, have this style that he wants to implement. But obviously, I believe he is a manager that is willing, that he is able to adapt. But he wants to see early, are they good enough? And so far, they have not shown those signs. And I think it's something that Pochettino is going to be it's something that he's going to adapt on. So I'm going to be patient with Mauricio Pochettino because I think he deserves that patience. This is a project at the end of the day. This is a project building into 2026. The bad part about this is the U.S. soccer organization and their complacency not bringing in the manager that was the answer a lot earlier to, have enough time. Now you're a little bit in a panic situation because 2026, you only have 9 international windows after this. That's going to come by like this. So let's just be patient and let's allow Mauricio Pochettino to slowly integrate his style, his philosophy, his tactics into this team. And then, later on, I think the March window will probably be the March window or the June window. Those will be the best times that we can really be critical of Pochettino, if things don't turn around. But let's not go to that dark spot. Let's hope that this is a learning curve for us. Because look, this is a Mexico team that we've had huge success over recent times, and it's underwhelming to get beaten and dismantled the way we were, because honestly we had Mexico in our pockets over the past few years. You're talking World Cup qualifiers, you're talking Nations League, you're talking World Cup qualifiers, Nations League, World Cup qualifiers, Nations League, there's something I'm missing, Gold Cups. The U.S. have had major success over Mexico in recent time. But this game, yes, if it's a time to slip up, it is a friendly, it is in quote-unquote a meaningless game, even though U.S.-Mexico is never a meaningless game. But if there was a time that you slip up, it would be here. It will be, in your second game under new manager, playing away to Mexico, which is never an easy place to play. I believe that's a place that the U.S. has never won. Besides that one friendly that they won 1-0, I think it was Hercules Gomez, a winner in the 2013 season or so, something like that. Other than that, not really a fixture that we have much success in. So let's be a little bit calm, and yes, there, individuals do deserve some criticism over the performance. There's no arguing that. But again, I think that this is a project going forward, obviously. But short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll do a full reaction to today's CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Before the break, we did a reaction to USMNT's lackluster display as they got dominated by Mexico. We move on to do a full reaction to today's CONMEBOL World Cup fixtures, and some interesting results happen all the way. Let's go in order. Colombia, great bounce back victory for them. They were able to defeat the likes of Chile. Chile sitting right now, I believe they're bottom of the CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying standings, and Colombia, they just took advantage with just quality that they have. By the way, that kit that they played with, what a beautiful kit. That was a really, really beautiful kit. But yeah, Colombia, Luis Diaz got on the score sheet. Davison Sanchez, Jean Duran, we know Jean Duran, the impact that he's had on Aston Villa on the bench. Similar impact coming off the bench for Colombia. And then Luis Sinistra getting the 93rd minute goal to lay down the thumping. And yeah, Colombia, they just thoroughly dominated this game because they just have much more quality, and it was good to quickly bounce back from that sour taste that they had in their mouth after Bolivia. And an overall good victory for them as they currently sit second place in CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying standings with 19 points. Paraguay 2-1 win over Venezuela in what did I say specifically talking about this game? This game was very, very important for Paraguay because in these CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers, the most important thing to do is to take care of your results that come at home. Protect Asuncion, which is, the city that they played in Paraguay. Protect, get the 3 points that you can get at home, and make sure you secure the victories at home and then get whatever you can on the road. And what Paraguay did against a direct competitor in Venezuela, because they're around that middle part in that 6th, 7th, 8th place sort of range, that are going to be direct competitors to Paraguay, trying to clinch a spot in the World Cup, to defeat them and to get the 3 points and to leave them with none. Big result for Paraguay, and it's something that that can be a big result for them going forward, because now they're sitting in a good position, sitting in 6th place, which is an automatic qualification position. But they find themselves now a point ahead of Bolivia after Bolivia lost today, and then 2 points ahead of Venezuela. And we know Venezuela, that is a direct competitor. So big win in my opinion for Paraguay. And honestly, from all the teams in this, that won in this match day, I believe they are probably the biggest winners, because that's a big result for them. And also they had a good result going away to Kyoto against Ecuador, getting a point from them. Overall, 4 points from these two. It's a really good day for Paraguay, and because they want to find themselves back into the World Cup. They haven't qualified for the World Cup since 2010, and it's picking up the points where you can get them. Winning, make sure you maintain protecting your home field, and then when you go away, trying to get any result that you can get, and that is exactly what they have done. Great window for Paraguayan national team. Uruguay disappointment continues in my they've continued their streak of their winless streak now with another 0-0 draw for Ecuador, and it doesn't really show in the standings. They're still sitting 3rd right now, tied with Brazil, ahead of Brazil with a goal differential. With a goal differential, 1 goal difference between them two. But Uruguay, they've been, it's not been good enough for Uruguay. You're talking a team that in the last, that are winless in their last 10 games, if you're talking about it within the 90 minutes. They haven't won a game within the 90 minutes in their last 10 games. It's been a lot of draws in their last the last 5 games, 4 draws and a loss. And the problem in every one of those games is they haven't scored. They haven't scored a single goal in the last 4 games, Uruguay. And that's something that is very... it's a really bad showing for Darwin Núñez. He's supposed to be this world-class, number 9 that can get the goals, that will carry on the reins from Edison Cavani and Luis Suarez. Darwin Núñez is supposed to be that player, and for him to allow this Uruguayan team to, be scoreless in their last 4 games, to not take advantage of an opportunity himself, but not to be able to create something for one of his teammates, maybe open up space with the pace that allows another player in. Diarezceta as well. He's supposed to be that number 10, that technically gifted, cute and clever, tidy player. No goals in the last 4 games. The attack has been a little bit toothless. I think defensively they're very, very solid. We know the midfield with Valverde and Ugarte, it doesn't get much better than that. Players like Bentancur being on the bench because of how brilliant that midfield is. But the attack is lacking that little bit of toothless, a little bit of that cutting edge, a little bit of that quality, lack of consistency, not being clinical enough, and it's an issue that they need to fix. Because look, they're managed by Marcelo Bielsa, and we know the little bit turmoil that Suarez spoke about, but this is something that can go really down a dark road for Uruguay if they don't get this together. Because right now, look, they're still sitting pretty in CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers, sitting in 3rd and not in major danger of missing out on the World Cup as of right now, but they need to step it up. And their next 3 games in the CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers, now obviously 2 will be in November and then the next one will be in March, but their next 3 games in CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers is Colombia, Brazil, Argentina. They can really find themselves drop down that table if they don't discover it. If they start going, if they continue this streak of being scoreless, they can find themselves a lot lower than expected. Because look, they find themselves 16th right now in CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers, but they're only 5 points away from Venezuela, who's sitting in 11th, or they're only 3 points away from dropping down to 6 with Paraguay, or 4 points away from dropping down to 7 to Bolivia. It's pretty tight in there. Apart from Colombia and Argentina, third place and eighth place is within 5 points, which is not that wide of a margin. And third place and sixth place is only 4 points. Or third place and seventh place is only 4 points. Third place and sixth place is only 3. There's not that much of a margin that Uruguay have now with the amount of points that they've dropped over their past few games. So it's something that they need to fix, because that's a massive issue for them. Them not being able to score goals, that's a massive issue. Argentina 6-0 win over Bolivia. I said this yesterday. Look, Bolivia, quality-wise, they're probably the worst team in CONMEBOL. We saw them at the Copa America. They were a very, very bad team. Because look, the players are not that they don't have good players. The players are not the most technically gifted, there's not much quality in the team. They have 12 points because, they took advantage of a Chilean team away that really is horrible. And then the rest of the 3 games came because of the altitude, because of, the supreme advantage that they have playing in Bolivia, in which that they can tire out opponents because of the extreme altitude that they play in. But now they go away to Argentina, in which I said their quality will be tested, and they were absolutely dismantled because they're just not a good team. 6-0, and it could have been more. Lionel Messi completely dominated the game. A vintage Messi performance, hat-trick from him, and then he also had 2 assists, 5 goal contributions, which, should eliminate those, Messi is this. Messi's still a great player. Messi is still much needed in this Argentina team. He makes this Argentinian team tick, and he's a brilliant player, and he's still capable of moments like this. And that's something that we needed a little bit of, or people needed a little bit of a reminder of, and he came out and he showed us what player he still is. 6-0 win for them, and they're sitting pretty on the top with 22 points. Argentina are continuing their high-flying ways. Brazil, probably their most impressive performance since the 2022 World Cup, I do have to say. They're definitely their most impressive performance so far in this World Cup qualifiers, coming through 9 games, completely dominating, outclassing Peru. You look at the statistics: 18 shots to 3, 8 shots on target to 2, 70% possession almost. Rafinha, I thought, yes, his 2 goals came from penalties, but I thought overall he played a really, really good game. Looked a lot more dangerous in the last game. Find themselves in more involved. I thought Rodrigo looked more effective playing off that left-hand side, playing in his natural position, a position that he doesn't really play much in for Real Madrid because Vinicius Jr.'s there. But I was impressed with Brazil. I thought this was a really good performance, and it's something now that they can build on. They're potentially getting Neymar back for the next window as they take on some difficult games in that next window, and they were able to build on last week's 2-1 comeback win over Chile. And the big thing for Brazil is secure the 6 points, because they found themselves in a really bad position after the last international break in the standings. But now they're looking much better. You see, they're only 3 points off second place Colombia. They're tied right now with Uruguay. They're sitting 4th place, but tied with Uruguay, who's 3rd. They're level on 16 points with Uruguay in 3rd place. Only 1 goal differential. The difference between them two, 7 goal differential for Uruguay, 6 for Brazil. And then they find themselves 3-point clear of, direct competitors in Ecuador, Paraguay. I think Brazil, this was a win window, and it's something that they can build on. I was really concerned with their last week, but this result today, that looked like vintage Brazil, and it's something that they really, really needed, and it's something that they can use now to manage control now, to control this going forward. And now they have the opportunity to take on Uruguay, Venezuela and Uruguay in their next international break. 2 games I'll be looking very forward to. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll do a reaction to some of the top soccer headlines. Before the break, we did a full reaction to today's CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers. We move on to do a reaction to some of the top soccer headlines. We discuss Messi's performance for Argentina. Something that I didn't get to talk about in the last segment is some comments he had after the game, saying basically almost saying that these games could be his last. He said it is very nice to play here, feeling the affection of the Argentina fans. It makes me emotional to listen how they shout my name. We all enjoy this connection with all the fans, and we love playing at home. When he was asked about his future, he said, I didn't set any date or deadline about my future. I'm just enjoying all this. I am more emotional than ever and taking all the love from the people because I know these can be my last games. Which, he also went on to say, it's a joy to be present and appreciate this moment. Being surrounded by younger teammates, given my age, makes me feel like a kid again. I find myself doing silly things because I feel so comfortable. As long as I maintain that feeling and can continue contributing to the team, I plan to be here enjoying. For me, look, obviously that's the case, but he's still involved, he's still playing, he's still having ridiculous games like yesterday. I think slowly, he's not going to admit this, and maybe it's something that he doesn't even really think about, and he's really taking it one day at a time. But he's just slowly building into a player that I think he will be available for Argentina at the 2026 World Cup. I just have a gut feeling. I just don't see him, suddenly retiring now in the middle of the World Cup qualifying window or anything like that, or leading them to the World Cup and not play in it. I just don't see it. I think it's all set up for Messi playing his last international games in America, playing in the country that he plays his club football in, and, having that one last opportunity with Argentina to get another international trophy. I really, that's really what I see. So, that's my guess. Obviously, I don't know anything, and obviously a big injury, could always derail that. So you pray that nothing like that happens to Messi, but well, it remains to be seen. Sir Alex Ferguson, he's set to be stepping back from an ambassador role that he has at United at the end of the season. Apparently, the decision comes from the club, and it's part of a cost-cutting initiative that was put in place since Sir Jim Ratcliffe purchased a minority stake in February. United, they finalized a redundancy of about 250 member of the staff that saved around £45 million, and it seems like Ferguson is one of those members. Ferguson, he's been a club ambassador since 2013, in which he retired as a manager after 25 years in the boss. And it's been reported that this ambassador role has allowed Sir Alex Ferguson to earn more than $2 million annually. And because of that, the agreement has come to be a part of the cost-saving measures across the board. The club came out and told sources that Sir Alex Ferguson will always be welcome at Old Trafford, and they described the decision as amicable and suiting for both parties. And Eric Cantona, he came out and he's very, very harsh and critical over this, saying Sir Alex Ferguson should be able to do anything he wants at the club until the day he dies. Such a lack of respect is totally scandalous. Sir Alex Ferguson will be my boss forever, and I throw them all in a big bag of expletive. I'll let y'all guess what he said. Move on to the next. Oh, by the way, that is, it's incredible that, look, I understand the cost-cutting things, but the lack of respect to Sir Alex Ferguson, who is Manchester United, 13 Premier League titles. I mean, he deserves to have whatever roles he has for the rest of his life. Let's just call it as we see it. I agree with everything. He had to say. Eric Cantona had to say. La Liga chef Javier Tebas, he's came out and he's asked FIFA President Gianni Infantino to cancel the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup because he said neither any of the domestic leagues or the FIFA Pro Player Union want it. Javier Tebas said, FIFA President, you know that you have not sold the audiovisual rights for the budget you said for that Club World Cup. He said this while speaking at the forums of the European Union of Clubs in Brussels. You know that you do now have the sponsorship for that Club World Cup as you had budgeted. You know that the league and the player football unions, we don't want the Club World Cup. Withdraw the Club World Cup now. Tebas, he believes that FIFA can actually have to use their own money, their own funds to launch this new expanded version of the Club World Cup. He went on to say, if you're going to use FIFA funds to finance the money that is missing from the promise you had made to the clubs, you're taking away from all those federations or places that FIFA says is there to help. We are talking about more of $1.5 billion or billion euros that will have to be drawn from that fund. There's a lot of people that want to derail the Club World Cup, but it seems like FIFA, they're strong and steadfast on, having this new expanded version of the Club World Cup, and it seems like it will be happening. But thank you guys for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. So thank you once again and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit.